Before we begin, no, I didn't steal this video from SunnyV2, his was about gameplay and community, and the story of Fortnite is very different to each other's perspectives and aspects of the game. Okay, Fortnite, a game that we've all probably played at least once and either gone, geez, this is awesome, and kept playing it for the next 4 years, or went, nah, this is boring, let's go find something else. And look, everyone knows that you drop from a vibey blue bus onto an honestly really detailed island to fight to the death until the last player remains. But honestly, Fortnite has become so much more than just a game, a compelling narrative with so much detail and development, it's really hard for anyone to get a proper grasp on the whole thing. So that's why I'm here. Hey, I'm Tedius, and if you somehow haven't noticed, I make Fortnite storyline videos, and I'm making another one today to tell all of you, depending on how many people see this, the entire Fortnite storyline, I guess. It all begins with the Big Bang, a huge explosion of interdimensional matter that created the 0 point, the core of something we know and love as the Omniverse, a repetition of repetitions of repetitions of repeated worlds, all somehow drastically changed in heaps of different ways. I mean, that's what a multiverse and an omniverse is, but we know that to form protection for the core or the 0 point, it formed islands around itself to be shielded in all angles. Like 2 islands on top, I'm sure you've seen it before. It also used godlike figures to help out the island, as we can see here. Now there are clearly 5 of them on the stone, and we know of 5 godlike figures who are the Element Kings. They invaded the Chapter 1 island back in Season 7, and with a whole damn stack of evidence, I've come to realize that they are these people. I know, they look pretty cool, right? Nah, I'm not going to explain that whole thing here though, don't worry. Right now we're focusing on mainstream storyline, but if you want to know more about them, which I'm hoping you do, I've made like tons of theories about them, so yeah. We know that these gods brought people from every different reality in the Omniverse and got them to constantly fight in something we know as the Loop. Or was it not exactly the 0 point that did that? On hundreds and thousands of islands, people are simulated into fighting so they can focus on winning instead of realizing the dark truth of the island. What was the dark truth? Well, here's where the Order comes in and the real plot begins. When all of reality was brought together by the 0 point and the gods, it brought some unwanted people, and those unwanted people weren't too happy with everyone being on the island simultaneously, happily, as a society, and they wanted control and power. If you couldn't already guess, these power-hungry psychopaths are actually called the Imagined Order. Actually, how could you guess that? And after winning the island over, they actually manipulated the 0 point, and made it that a storm would consume the players in the loops of the island. And they also added multiple gears and weaponries for the islanders to battle with. Secretly, the fighters were just a huge distraction from the 0 point, so that the Order could absorb its energy behind the scenes, manipulate it, and you know why no one could tell what they were doing to the core? Well, it's because they wiped literally everyone's memories while they were in a loop. Hypnosis is going pretty wild here, and you may be like, well dude, that's a very, very unrealistic concept, and in many aspects it's actually highly possible. Stephen Hawking believed in the multiverse, and he was, well, Stephen Hawking. Memory loss is obviously real, and simulations are real too. I mean, the metaverse exists. Shout out to you, Elon. So it was a pretty simple island for a while. Society moved forward outside and within the loop, until a group known as the Seven weren't exactly too happy about that. They have mysterious connections to multiple groups involved in the early reality war, as we talked about everyone being brought together to fight each other, and their leader, the Foundation, is presumably a former member of the Order. He betrays them and sends his team down to the island. The 7, who we know as the Visitor. As their group had relation to many parts of reality and many different factions, the multiversal matter of the meteor crash created something called a hop rock. A rock with links to every element of the 0 point, because as we said, they're from practically every edge of the universe, came from many different factions. They sort of represent the Omniverse in a way, they have connections to all of it. Now here's where we have to go a little bit off topic, well, very off topic, but you need to know what I'm about to tell you, trust me. It's pretty damn important. This is a concept called the order of elements. We know there are 5 elements of the Omniverse: gold, ice, fire, corruption, and nexus. Nexus is the strongest, then corruption, then after that there's gold, ice, and then fire. I won't explain why just yet because it will spoil some big story things, but for now you know. That's how the powers work in our reality. Alright, now back to the mainstream. Okay, so now you know how the elements tie into the hop rocks and how all the multiverse crap works, and let's just start from there. We know that the visitor arrived to the island in a meteor full of that hop rock stuff, and of course when a crash like this happens, the meteor breaks off into different parts, allowing many chunks of rock to smash onto the island. One of the larger meteors that crashed was into the island's famous movie theatre, Risky Reels. The people of the island outside the loop planned on reopening this theatre by premiering a new movie once it was all rebuilt, as kind of like a celebration, like, come here, new film, cool, that kind of thing. So the work on the movie began, and so did the visitor. He got to thinking about his really big plan. Wait, what did you think I was gonna say? For the movie, they were building a rocket to be used in one of the scenes, and this gave the island's friendly metal man an idea. Well, not friendly, but you know, the visitor, he's kinda chill guy. He could use that rocket with the hop rock energy and combine them to make a low gravity, fully operating rocket that could send him back where he came from. And a few weeks later, it was done. The rocket was launched in front of heaps of players which thought it was awesome because they'd never seen anything like it in a video game before, and the 2 most powerful elements of the hop rock found their time to shine. A mix of nexus and corruption. A dark rift was created in the sky, a crack, creating wonder and mystery among the islanders. Season 5. The crack in reality wasn't exactly a good thing. It looked cool, but it didn't help. Reality began to actually break apart, and people were begging for it to stop. One day, it did, but the rift closed in a way that no one could have ever predicted. Let's just say the corruption started to show through with its true colours, and the rift closed with a dark lightning strike, summoning something we now know as Kevin the Cube, a being of pure utter corruption, used to protect its queen, to invade different worlds, and to build colonies for its group, ruining all reality. They were cubes, so of course they could stack and build, and that's exactly what they tried to do. The cube slowly made its way towards the center of the core of the island, corrupting many parts of our reality as it went over them. When it reached the center, it actually came across the 0 point, and as we know, Nexus and 0 point energy is stronger than the corruption. Not by that much, but it still is. So the cube slowly started to lose its energy until it was so close to destabilization, and elements this strong being so close to the Omniverse core really messed up everything, sending everyone into the deep Nexus, a world of all reality. And it looked awesome. A symbolic representation of the 0 point, known as the Rift Butterfly, brought us back to our island so that we could be safe, and the cube was beaten. For now. Shards of the corruptive rock still remained on the island, but that wasn't really important. Well, not yet. There was a new threat on the island, the Ice Legion. An iceberg had approached the island rapidly, out of random. Many people don't know the reason as to why it moved so fast, and there's a pretty obvious explanation to it all. Every one of the kings had a beast to protect them. Dragons, monsters, caretakers, whatever. The Ice King had the Devourer, and it was swimming the iceberg towards its final destination. Anyways, they arrived, and they had a prisoner within their tower. He was called the Prisoner. I bet you didn't see that one coming. Okay, the Prisoner was actually the King of Fire as well, which is really cool, and it also explains why they were enemies in a sense. Kind of polar opposites, get it? Polar because it's okay, I'll just get on with it. The prisoner's fire element slowly melted the snow away, which unfroze the Ice King, and he didn't want that to happen. He wasn't expecting to even wake up, and when he realized where he wasn't exactly impressed. The Ice King had been on this island before. He was an early protector of it, the King of the Ice Element, as his name suggests. he realized that the snow had melted and the Fire King had escaped. In a build-up of rage, he released a snowstorm onto the island, with monsters very similar to the Children of the Darkness. Now that's super cool and all, but how did he even get access to the corruption in the first place? Well, remember that shot of the cube that was still on the island in the center after it sort of imploded? Yeah, well, he was drawn towards it since he's an elemental, and the cube was originated by another elemental, known as the Cube Queen. Anyways, he fuses the cube shard with his own element to create ice fiends, and they raid the island, but eventually the ice starts to fade and it's restricted to just a small corner of our reality. Now, that's the Ice King's reign kinda over, but it was now the Fire King's time to shine. And trust me, the Ice King was not gone. The Fire King began hatching a plan, and trust me, it was a really good one that made for some honestly sick events. He knew that there was a beast in the Ice King's castle, and he also knew that it laid eggs. He stole those eggs and kept them for himself, growing younger dragons to aid him in the inevitable battle that was about to come. With his powers of molten magma and fire, he summons a volcano, and honestly, this was one of the best POIs ever in Fortnite. Loved it. But the elemental stuff kinda took a pause there. Well, at least for fire. Gold had been found beneath the island. What a coincidence! Wasn't gold like one of the elements or something? Yeah, it was, but this didn't tie into the elements for that case. It was more focused on the fact that luxuries were being hidden beneath the island. Where was it being hidden? In a vault, made by the Singularity, who is yet another member of the Seven. They always come back into the story, and I love it. They're really cool. She actually has two different names, the Singularity and the Paradigm. So that's just a little bit of trivia for you all. Anyways, the Singularity was building vaults which she was hoping to have finished before the Ice King had hatched his plan, and his eggs. But she needed help from the islanders as well. Players all over the island helped move the rune keys to the vault across the island, until everything was set and the doors were ready to be opened. There were many around the island, hiding many luxuries, but what was being hidden from everyone on the island in the core? What was it that was so damn important that it needed to be locked away in a high-tech security rune-protected vault that could only be opened by thousands of people over the course of 3 long weeks? It was the 0 Point, and Singularity, who is Paradigm, was trying to stop the players and the core from being attacked by the volcanic eruption, which is why, when it was time for the skies to go red and for molten rock to spark, everyone was let inside of the vault as the island crumbled under ash and darkness. In this vault, we saw and got an explanation to how the simulation properly worked. Well, very early explanation, we didn't understand it at the time. Weaponry items were taken in and out of the battle by the overlords of the island, who are the Imagined Order. Remember those psychopaths I was talking about earlier? And this was the first time that anyone had somewhat of an idea that this wasn't just a normal island. In a sense that we were being controlled, things started to seem like we were playing in a bit more than just a casual basic battle royale, and the action didn't end right there. Once we were released from the vault, the volcano had erupted, destroying Tilted, Retail Row, and we saw it smashing into the Ice King's tower, awakening the beast, the devourer, the monster himself. For Season 9, the story was more just preparation for the final showdown. The Singularity rebuilt society with 0 Point tech, and she also worked on a big mechanical robot to defeat the devourer, and it totally worked, in an awesome live event that Chapter 1 players remember as the best, greatest Fortnite live event in the game's history. The 0 Point was used to beat the aggressive beast, and he died, his skull resting down on the island. But the 0 Point was exposed and overextended. It began breaking, tearing all of reality. The Seven weren't exactly too happy with the member of their group that had the role of guarding the core to the entire universe, seeing she had left him in a really bad spot. But she joined them to finish it all, or at least to finish Chapter 1. The Seven reunited and brought back the island's biggest threats to end it all. The media from early times was forced onto the core, imploding on itself and destroying the island in a black hole that pissed off 8-year-olds for 2 days. It was time for the Order to rebuild reality, and if they didn't do it correctly, they would be forever doomed. But, oh well. They weren't forever doomed, and it actually went really well, besides the fact that the island was very boring and the first season went for so damn long that the whole fanbase abandoned the game like an old hospital that crumbled into a smouldering pile of hot magma and asphalt remain. But that's okay. The Order used multiversal matter from their previous island to reshape a place we like to call Apollo. Well, not like to call it, but this is where it gets cool. Slowly throughout Chapter 2, we learnt about the Bridge, a defense for the 0 point that was built by the Seven. This domain was later overrun by the Imagined Order, and then it was responsible for the whole two-island thing. Now, I'm not a physics or science teacher, but welcome to the basic outlines of gravity with Tedius. As you can see here, the two islands enclosed on each other, and also this may seem completely unrealistic, but it's not. Earth is always pulling objects and life towards its core, like the South Pole and the North Pole. It's just like that, but it's flat. No, not a flat Earth, a flat reality zero of Fortnite. It's a very possible concept, and that is based off the whole South Pole, North Pole thing, not flat Earth. Anyways, nothing happened at the beginning of Chapter 2 except a war between Fortnite and Dark People. They were called Alter. Alternate universe versions of Fortnite characters fought against us. I mean, we're in an omniverse, you're gonna be seeing this stuff all the time. Anyways, those two sides just fight for 6 months, and that's pretty much it. That is until a strong employee of the Imagined Order's side just leaves them to take charge at their weakest point. The man, the myth, the golden legend, the homie Midas. After betraying the Order, he just bought both of the organizations of the island, naming them Ghost and Shadow. He would go on to continue the war, but not really. It was a fake setup, a trick, a deceiving lie that would trick all of the island away from his real mastermind plan. Chapter 2, Season 2's infamous The Device Plan. Midas had trickles of the gold elemental power within him, and if you remember from the Order of Elements concept earlier, corruption is an overtaker of gold, meaning they have a relation and also contrast. Gold is like the opposite of the corruption. In a strive of effort, the former manipulator steals the staff of the early elemental known as Oro, who is the representative of gold, and he uses it to break the storm and power his machine to also break the storm. And it works, and this is where we learn that the whole corruptive idea is actually connected into it all, very strongly. As you probably guessed, since corruption is such a huge part of this story, it ties into the early origins of the island as well. So again, just some more trivia that isn't too important yet, but trust me, it'll matter later on. A lot. Okay, back to it. Midas successfully breaks open the storm, and the Imagined Order have to act fast. They try their best to fight back, enraging the storm with torrential amounts of rain, forming it to pure water. The water just drops, the island floods, and nothing happens for a while. The 0 point and the loop is just unstable until Season 4. And when the end event happened, it drew Galactus in. I don't know why or how, and it really has no way of directly linking other than the fact that he just saw it and wanted the 0 point, I guess. So he came for us. But he gets sent back, and really, if I'm honest, nothing happened in Season 3 or 4 or Chapter 2, just had nothing in these seasons. Like, sure, Galactus put like one pinky finger on the 0 point, but Midas did the exactly same thing. He left the core unstable, so did Galactus. So if we're looking at the important stuff, just disregard the fact that either of these two seasons ever happened. By Season 3, Season 4, you really don't matter. Let's move to Chapter 2, Season 5. The 0 point was unstable and reality was breaking apart, so an employee of the Imagined Order named Agent Jones set out to save absolutely everything. He travels to many realities in the Omniverse to find fighters that can protect the 0 point from the loopers of the island and whatever they want to manipulate on it, and also the Order. So it's got to be protected from all angles. But in doing this, it creates reality tears never seen before, and the Order doesn't help Jones at all with this. Soon, the agent starts to realize that the Order, Sloan, and Geno aren't trying to help out at all with reality and its state. They're just manipulating it and its people, and then taking the profit for themselves to benefit from. He ditched the Order, and went to call help from the Seven. Yes, I know, they're back in the story once more, but which member this time? Well, finally, we get a reveal for the leader of the group. The Foundation is called in by Jones this time, and although they're factions of the Order and the Seven are basically arch-nemesis, they agree to make a treaty when Jones promises Foundation that he will find Geno and the sisters for him. Who the hell are they, you might be asking? Well, the sisters are two members of the Seven, and Geno is the Imagined Order CEO. Dr. Sloan is the underhead boss of the organization. Just to clear some things up, they have many different leaders in many different parts, so I thought I'd just let you know all about that. Okay, now what the Foundation actually did. Well, he represents many elements of the Omniverse. As I mentioned earlier, the Seven are from all edges of the multiverse, so they have links to every element of it as well. Make sense? Cool. If it doesn't, that's sad. He uses all of his power to protect the 0 point, and sends it into a healing process by using gold for mineral, nexus to heal the core, fire to build the chromium ore, ice to sit it in place and stabilize it, and corruption to, well, you'll see what the corruption really did. The tower was all good for protecting the 0 point and allowing it to return to its place in the bridge, but it had darkness within it from the element of corruption. Yeah, let's just say it had a bit more of a vital effect than they thought it would. For the entirety of the next season, the game sucked, the loot pool was absolutely horrible, the fanbase became increasingly smaller, and corruption spread all throughout the island. A man named Raz had been always called by the corruption and seeked its true deeper meaning. Long story short, he messed with the darkness, and here's where the lore gets really good and deep and awesome. Remember those elemental godlike figures that I was telling you about earlier? Yeah, I know you don't. That's okay, I'll show you them again. So their names are Zero, Oro, Cube Queen, Ice King, and Prisoner, and right now we're focusing right on the Cube Queen, the Lord of all corruption. After Raz attracted attention to the element of darkness on the island, the Cube Queen was drawn towards that event because, well, she is the heart of all corruption. Her and her alien race, known as the Last Reality, invaded the Fortnite island, and they started to destroy parts of it, declaring a war against the Imagined Order, and the Loopers, and everyone. It was a huge threat, it was scary, but it made for a really cool season. At the beginning of this, we were approached by Bunker Jonesy, a snapshot of the Agent Jones we referred to earlier in this story. Now, what's a snapshot? I probably should have covered this earlier, but let's cover it now. It's an alternate version of someone that's created once they leave or enter into the loop. So Tedius, how does one leave the loop? Well, you have to be the last player remaining in a loop, and you have to be at the exact epicenter of the storm at a certain time, I believe. So it's a very specific thing, and you'd have to study it for a very long time to actually learn how to do it. And no one's successfully done it as an actual player, people in the storyline have, but it's pretty damn hard to escape the loop. But that's not the point. No matter if someone enters or leaves, it creates another version of them so that whatever they do, the Order still has a version of them to manipulate on. Yeah, I know, it's actually pretty dark, pretty mean, pretty horrible of them to do. But they're just using people for their own benefit. It's nothing new. I mean, see, they're awful people with no morals at all. Anyways, Bunker Jonesy approaches us and asks us to search the Imagined Order base for details and secrets on what their plan against the corruption really is. And you're probably wondering, why did he ask us specifically, not just someone with actual prior knowledge? Well, it's because we run into Jonesies all the time. In games, in cutscenes, even in the short story beats. We're kinda a regular with this guy, and he trusts us, and we trust him. Good to know. Anyways, in the Order's base we find evidence based on the new race invading the island, but that doesn't prove anything or have any huge effect on this season, so let's keep moving forward. The thing that matters more is that the Order spotted us in their base, and they asked us to work for them, which we for some reason accept. I don't know why, probably because we couldn't remember any of the bad stuff they've done. You know, because we got memory wiped, but anyways, that's fine. So then the aliens noticed that the Orders were gaining troops, and the good old Cube Queen decided to learn a little bit more about us. Element time, and this one's kinda ridiculous, not even joking when I say this. She's looking for a distraction to the players, so she can read their minds. She contacts Ariana Grande. And in our multiverse, Ariana is the goddess of the rift element, and she can sing and travel between realities. I mean, that would be entertaining for literally everyone, right? Yeah. This concept was a huge misconception and distraction, and combining the elements of corruption and nexus of reality gave us the ability to see the dark past of many other realities, the homes of many characters that had been destroyed and they'd been ripped out of without their own consent. It's kinda sad, and this is where we start to get a bit suspicious of the Order. Very suspicious. They almost ruined everyone's happy lives for the sake of their own power and element, which is honestly really dark. And then things began to take a slight turn. The Order had been ratted out for their lies and their manipulation of reality, and many began to betray the organization, leaving it down to one main suspect, Agent Jones. He was the first to truly betray the Order, and Sloane suspects he is behind all of this, when really it wasn't him. It was the Elemental, Cube Queen and Ariana revealing where they had torn people's lives apart. But of course, they're too self-entitled and presumptuous, I mean, what's new, so they imprison Agent Jones into their facility, and they keep him under constant watch. Manipulating reality, getting dark pasts, capturing random people that don't even have any effect with the current situation. I mean, he was innocent. Come on, we can't trust these people anymore. The players start to lose total hope and worth in Sloane, and with all mistake and everything possibly going wrong, it's time for the Order to take some action. The last reality had been abducting many things from the island, so this actually gave the Order a really good idea. They placed bombs in their facilities, which were then abducted by the alien ships. The bombs would be taken into the ships, detonated, and destroy the ship forever. Now that would have worked, and it did. The Order had completely forgotten about how the alien race linked right into the cubes, and with the ship breaking, all of the corruptive devices were released out onto the island. There was also a friendly cube that had blue light energy, and it had been given the name Blevin. And it had also been given the role to protect the players, but it didn't stand much of a chance. Rest in peace, Blevin, 2021 to 2021. Welcome to the end of Chapter 2! Not much happened here, if I'm honest. The island just got progressively more corruptive, and eventually society had to fight back. In a huge battle, the Seven came in clutch, and ended up flipping the island using their bridge technology that was slightly name-dropped earlier. We are brought to the other side of the island. Remember the whole physics thing? I'm hoping you do, and I'll take that as a yes. And now we're in Chapter 3. The Order has been trying their best to drill through the ground for the claim of the new island, and it looks like the Seven will be fighting back. Will Paradigm return? Will the loop be broken? Who knows? I guess we'll find out in Chapter 3, Season 2, Zero War.